Hey guys, Hadapy here. So, recently I've been putting a lot of time into some games from Atlus. It's a company that I had very little exposure to up until recently, but now that I've gone through a few of their games, I want to talk about them a little bit. But first, a story. So, pull up a chair, or futon, or whatever, and listen up. The time is around late April, and I've been playing a bunch of Final Fantasy XIV Heavensward for some time. But after a while, I just had an urge to play a traditional turn-based JRPG. The problem being was that I didn't have a craving for one I hadn't played in a while, but rather something new. So, looking around on the internet, the safest place I know, I found a little game you might have heard of, Persona 5. It'd be getting universal praise and adoration left and right, and for most, that'd be all you need. Close the books and open your wallets for this beautiful piece of gaming history. But I had recently been hurt by internet opinions on a game that I had been looking forward to, but ultimately got majorly disappointed from. That game being Horizon Zero Dawn. Fight me later. Now, when it came to Persona 5, before buying this game, I wanted to try some of its other games. Now, I had heard of Persona and Shin Megami Tensei games with the biggest quotes I can fit on screen because I really only heard them by name and not much else. But hearing that Persona was a Shin Megami Tensei game, it did give me a slight revelation. I had heard that Atlus was going to do a crossover game with Intelligent Systems and their Fire Emblem series. And that kind of thing I could get behind since I am a huge fan of Fire Emblem. Although I did hear that this game was interesting, I still looked at some trailers again to reacquaint myself with it, and, well... 命がけってところでは暗黒竜との戦いもいつもの仕事も同じだわ。いつも通りに全力を尽くすだけよ。ボーガさんの背中I really didn't mind it. My history with showcase performances on stage and such hadn't left as bitter of a feeling as it did with others, and overall, the music and animation were all entertaining to witness, and the whole thing screamed musical Power Rangers. So I decided I wanted to acquire Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE, and use this as my trial run for Atlus games. I just had one minor problem. I'm a person that prefers owning physical copies of my games whenever possible, but the problem being is that with this game already being nearly a year old, and also being a very obscure sort of game, my local Walmart definitely would not have this game. For reference, and slight spoiler, I couldn't even get Persona 5 at my Walmart, and it wasn't that I was late to pick it up. And my closest EB Games is around an hour's drive away from me. That, and I was also fairly certain that even they wouldn't have it. Fortunately, a friend of mine was going out of town for work, so I asked him if he had a spare moment to try and track down Sharp FE for me. He agreed, and he thus went on his trip. After exploring the big city for a bit, he managed to find one copy, the last one at a Toys R Us. So, thus was my chance to play this game, and with this long intro finally out of the way, let's take a look at Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE. TMS Sharp FE stars Itsuki and his friends that work for a talent agency that doubles as their disguise for the secret agenda of being Mirage Masters, people with the power to take control of friendly Mirages, this game's versions of Shadows, and use their powers to combat the forces of evil, from stealing the population's performa. I see what you did there. This game's story isn't anything that'll make you scream to the hills to replace the script of The Godfather with the plot of this game, but it's serviceable, if at the very least really fun to go through. The story itself, though, I found to be a little on the it's over already side of fast. Granted, I had 50 plus hours of time put into it, but it almost felt like the game was just really wanting to just finish the plot as fast as it possibly could. The adventures of Itsuki and the other Fortuna talents are also aided by some of the employees that work there as well as their Mirage pals, all of whom are Fire Emblem characters. In terms of its story, you could replace Fire Emblem with almost any other medieval universe, and it probably would have worked. But it was pretty cool to see Chrom and Tharya interact with other Fire Emblem characters like Draug, Navarre, Kain, and Shida, as well as their masters. One thing I will say for sure, though, Itsuki, Mr. Cardboard himself, somehow managed to win the hearts of an acclaimed idol, an up-and-coming half-Scandinavian actress, an adorable cooking show host/lolly, and the biggest pair of moons to ever orbit Tokyo, and the dude barely reacts to any of them. Ugh, what a silly boy. Now on to gameplay. This game had your party of 3 battling numerous mirages in the idolosphere, as well as interacting with your friends, albeit in limited amounts, unlike the other games I'll be discussing. Combat has you shuffling through your list of moves, trying to deal as much damage as possible. The gimmick here being that you look to hit enemies with certain weaknesses a la Fire Emblem or any other RPG ever. However, by doing so, you can also trigger what's known as a session. By linking skills that trigger off the use of a previous skill, one attack can lead to a string of attacks and spells, all being done by your teammates at once. It was a really fun feature and made for some fast-moving and entertaining fights all the way through the game. There are also special performances that you can unlock that provide a variety of benefits if luck is on your side to proc them. Outside of combat, you also run around the overworld, solving various puzzles which vary from not even a challenge to not really a problem, but it's enough to mix things up a bit. As well, you can also explore limited parts of Tokyo like Shibuya and Harajuku to sell and buy stuff and do some side quests. You can trigger side quests with your party members by using them in battle, and you can obtain other side quests after certain key points in the story. There's really not much else to talk about in that regard except for one dislike of the game, and that is the fact that one of your party members joins your team really late into the game. You interact with them briefly throughout most of the game, but by the time he joins the crew, endgame stuff is already set to begin, making interactions with him in most scenes feel very rushed and forced. Fortunately, you build a friendship with him very fast compared to the others in terms of getting his personal side quests done, but I still prefer to have had more time to develop characters fully rather than rushing them. The game also has a crafting system, and it's actually pretty decent for how simplistic it is. You find different parts off of Mirages, and by taking them to Tiki, another Fire Emblem character, you can combine them to make new weapons in a process called Unities. What's good is that each weapon has different list of moves and skills you can learn from them, encouraging constant unity to learn new skills or relearning ones to upgrade their usefulness in battle. All in all, I really did enjoy my roughly 53 hours I spent playing Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE, even if the story was over before I wanted it to be, and for the wrong reason. But the music, even if I couldn't understand it, was so much fun to listen to. The game's main theme, Reincarnation, is a song that I actually listen to almost daily because it's just so good. Kiria's Best Girl Fight Me. And pretty much all other tracks, vocal or ambient, are all really good, especially when all the vocal songs were actually sung by the voice actors for the characters, which I was really impressed by. Overall, I really think that if you haven't played this game, that you really should, especially if you may have never played an Atlus game and are looking to get your foot in the door, like I did. For true veterans of Atlus games, though, you may not really like this game in terms of its gameplay, since I can really only best describe TMS Sharp FE as baby's first Persona. It has most of the same structure, just extremely watered down compared to their Persona counterparts. But if you can look past that, I really think there's a game worth playing here. Just maybe not one to pay full price for. I mean, come on, Nintendo. It's been a year and I still had to pay full price for this. What the hell? And don't you even get me started on their censorship decisions for this game. Thanks guys so much for watching, And next time we look into my Atlus retrospective review of sorts, we're going to look at the hot ticket, Persona 5. Until next time, though, I'll see you guys later.